Hi, welcome back to Unique Minds of the Okanagan. I'm Rob O'Day.
And I'm Megan Stewart.
And we are here with our finale wrap-up of Season 2.
Yay!
I feel that there was a theme this year. Like, the first season was very artistic and creative. And I feel like this year we had a running theme where it was very inspirational. Where we had a lot of people who were older.
Yeah.
That are making their dreams happen. And younger people who are creating full lives for themselves. So that's been kind of cool.
Yeah, you can start whenever. Doesn't matter where you are at life or how old you are.
I mean, there were a handful. I have a list of some of the most influential interviews that we had this season. Getting to hear Brent Steele's story was quite incredible, and seeing his art in person and him breaking it down, and then having him at our events and seeing him do it live has been a really cool transition.
Yeah, he was a really good one.
Like, a lot of the people we got to interview over the last few months, whether it be beginning interviews, but they've all kind of excelled in their craft after doing the interview. And one of my favorites to see at the moment is Scott Panov ended up getting a bunch of projects that he had sitting around and wanting to do. And he finally finished off his Mario shell, and it's absolutely incredible.
Yeah, it's like your conversations just light up and just create that little spark that they might just need, right?
I think it's just that attention, like getting the little bit of love, kind of just like you said, snaps a fire. But it's been one of my favorite moments of the season so far has been with Scott, where he built the Enigma sign, which is in my office, but it's absolutely beautiful. It's always cool to see the different mediums that we've dealt with. Who's been one of your favorite interviews up to this point?
Well, you've already mentioned it. Brent Steele was definitely probably one of my favorite ones. He's become one of our really good friends too, and definitely supports us. So I really appreciate that. And I think we could both agree that Logan from Revelstoke was probably my favorite.
Yeah, Logan Williams was heavily influential.
He definitely left a mark on my heart, and
Meg started crying.
Yeah, I did.
After the interview, she was welled up and crying. And
yeah, no, he was very inspirational, even though he's about 12, 13 years younger than us. I feel like I could look up to him as a person and what he's accomplished at such a young age, and genuine human. We had a really great conversation with him and a really nice visit with him at the end of the time, I thought. So Logan for sure.
I can't wait to see where he goes.
Definitely, mind blown. Yeah, definitely we'll be keeping an eye on Yellow Home Productions. It was, right?
I believe so, yeah. It was incredible. And same with the Girth Boys. Their story was really cool too, to see a small town group of guys get together and create this really unique music in a town that I didn't really think there was a vibrant music scene. So there was also a handful of interviews heavily based on what I found was the theme of the season, which was you're never too old to follow your dreams. And Down the Lees, Mike, Scott, like all of these guys, Angela, they're within 10 to 15 years older than us, and within the last 10 years some of them have started their career. What you can accomplish if you truly believe in yourself and your art, and kind of just don't take what people think as like your success level, which is a very hard thing to do. I think we all battle that, whether or not you're a creative or not. That self-doubt is very hard to overcome. And I think that they've managed to do that and excel at what they do, which is quite inspiring, especially with Down the Lees. Working with Andy and Storm the Empire and seeing how hard he does work when he's recording and when he's writing. To think that he's 20 years older than me and still grinding at his career is kind of mind-blowing. And they're only, like, Down the Lees is only getting further and further along in their career. Kind of one of the most inspiring things for me this season, like as a takeaway, was you're never too old to start something you love. There's a lot of amazing people that we got to speak with. Like Dave and Andrene I've known since high school, and I consider them an absolute power couple. Like Dave with his production, his video, his audio engineering, his live sound production, and then Andrene with her painting and her art career, and just seeing Dave start in his parents' 2-bedroom upstairs that had the peak to the roof, right? So seeing him start from there to sitting in the studio that he's created, and then seeing what Andrene's created, and just how they're fully self-sufficient as a couple doing art. To me, that is like the ultimate win. A lot of us have to leave to follow art careers.
Well, I feel like that's like wherever you're from, right? Even Kelowna too, not just Penticton. I feel like you got to leave to excel or follow your dreams, right?
I definitely enjoyed speaking with Winona Paul. Growing up on the reservation and then having to like sell her art to be able to go on a European trip to go see world famous pieces of art. Everyone kind of like confused as to how she did it. It's just mind blowing for me that she herself has built this career to where like even the V's are rocking a jersey she designed. And like that for Penticton, in my eyes, like probably one of the top success stories. This year has been a really like influential season for me. This year was like very getting to sit back and sit down with them versus like on the spot walking around and they're distracted by what they're doing, getting to speak to them and bring up like revolutionary thoughts for them that have like inspired them to push their career. And I feel like that's what the key point of the show is inspiring not only a younger generation, but the entire arts community to be like this thriving flower. There's been a lot of really key moments. Rob McLaren's interview was really inspiring too. I've known Rob for years, and he was actually the first person to ever give me a live performance. Rob has always been someone that thinks on another level. His point of band shelf life has always been something that sticks in the back of my head. And you really do see that. And I think that the more I talked with bands this year, kind of have the same thing where you hit a certain point in your musical career with specific groups. And because we've spent so much time creating this thing that it's hard to walk away from. And a lot of bands, like Rob says, have a shelf life. And it's the 2-year, the 5-year, the 10-year. And it's really hard to see bands hit that 10-year mark and actually make that step in their musical career. Because it is very hard to have 4 people, 5 people working together for that long and be able to push.
Oh, yeah.
And one very, very important thing that I've taken away from this season is that we live in the perfect time to make a career out of anything you want to. There's people making careers off of anything.
Yes, we're definitely in that era. Which is lots of opportunity and for so many things.
One of the biggest benefits to the rapid technological advances and like that social media growth, but it's also like how do you navigate it? And that's very hard because you kind of got to pick and choose where you want to put your time into.
Yes.
Because you're not going to be good at all of them.
Did we ask what your favorite episode was this season?
There were a lot of like very valuable points in every one. My top 3 conversations that really hit, DJ Thistle would definitely be one of them.
Oh, right,
Getting to speak with him on the music industry and his perspective on being a parent too, while navigating being an artist, like a professional artist, was super inspiring for me because like my whole life is based on making film and doing music. There's like, that's my life and goals, and like nothing's gonna change that. Besides DJ Thistle, Zach Tarleton was a super inspiring story for me. Getting to hear his whole backstory and going to Mexico, kind of the same thing with Sarah, where they're like professional musicians in Mexico for years, and then they come back and it's like, how do you go from being on massive stages performing in front of thousands of people to like tiny bars? To see people who hit that echelon of artistry and being a professional musician reverting back to the smaller shows is kind of like really shows you that the music industry itself is very different than the image that it's been given off for the last 50 years. Because there's 3 music industries now. You have the mainstream industry, you have the actual music industry, and then you have the independent music industry, which is what is really thriving right now is independent artists. because major labels don't really provide anything anymore. Quite literally just put your songs on Spotify for you and maybe do some merch, but like they used to front the tours, they used to front the albums, they used to do all that, so they were a valuable commodity to have as an artist. But nowadays, with things changing, you really see even pop stars trying to go as independent as possible because they have to pay so much money back to the record labels. Getting to speak with artists who have done it successfully and taking the points of like what advice they would give somebody who's just starting. And if you go back and you took every little tidbit from every artist that we spoke to and you put that into practice, you could fully live off music or art. And that's like the whole point of asking those questions, is no one teaches us how to do it. No one taught me how to book a show. I just quite literally called Voodoo's one day and was like, can I book a show? And didn't even know they had sound systems, so we had to bring our own. We had no idea. So artists don't have the same idea. Like, how does an artist get into a gallery? How does an actor get an agency? Right. Like, without these little like tidbits of knowledge that no one really ever gives, because it's like, keep our knowledge to ourselves.
Yeah,
we made it
it's a little bit of gatekeeping.
I'd say. There is. There's a lot of gatekeeping in that, but then you find the select people who are willing to give their information
And it goes a long way. I mean, I feel like everybody should work together and put their ideas and brains together and create something huge, right? Rather than all these little pockets. And so why don't we just all come together and create something massive for everyone?
And that's what's very difficult, because everyone has such different hobbies now. And I think a lot of people don't really enjoy going out to shows because things are expensive.
So expensive.
It's like it's hard to go to a show, and like I hate having to charge the money that we do for shows, because like I remember going to shows and it was $5, $10. To have to charge $20+ per performance for 4 artists, that's just to cover their gas to get here. So it's like it's very difficult to where morally am I doing enough for the scene, but am I overcharging for shows? But it's because the artist has to get paid, the venue's got to get paid. There's a lot that goes
and they're worth it. People are worth it. You know, people's time and energy is definitely valuable and worth it. And it's just unfortunate how expensive life is to take away from people, right? Who want to share their art or their story or whichever, right? Yeah. It comes at a cost, unfortunately.
It does. And I think that's kind of the pick and choose, like the give and take that you have to as an artist. Yeah. And like you coming from working in the hospital and getting to view an artist's mentality as like a person who doesn't really do art. From your perspective, what have been like the biggest takeaway points?
Yeah, I'm not very artistic. I definitely feel like I'm more of the outdoorsy one, or enjoy doing more physical things other than like using my mind or whichever, my hands. I have a little bit of a different mindset. I just find it very inspiring to see all of these people at different ages, like I say, young, middle-aged, or older, doing what they love, and that does inspire me to like want to try and pick up something. I have no clue what that may be, but it's nice to hear other people's lives. You can resonate with them, or again, learn from them and take that and run with it. And I feel like that's happened to you this season as well. I definitely think you and I have will take something away from this, for sure.
Yeah, this season's been definitely like all life altering for me mentally, and even in the way that like I want to push further and harder with my own solo music and being like with my filming and the show and stuff. It's just like you kind of start, I don't think it's just because of the kids, but I think it's showing them like that I'm constantly grinding and working and like being around artistic people and like them being like, oh, dad's on TV or dad's on the show, and those are the things that are really going to spark their interest in being like, what else can I do and where can I be creative? And I think that that's the whole point of being like, that's the whole duty of being an artist, is to inspire and create. Like I've grown exponentially this season just from speaking with different people, and the views that they've given me have been like such blessings.
Yeah, I can vouch for that, for sure.
But I think one of the biggest things is as a promoting, like as a booking agent and stuff like that, is like, no is the worst thing you can ever hear. Like, and that's like probably one of the biggest pieces of advice that I would give to any artist or a person, is just like, go full bore. And if they say no, who cares? That is the worst thing. If you want to book one of your favorite artists, contact them. See how much it costs. If they say no, they say no.
That's right. They're just not going to reply, or they're going to say no.
I kind of hope that, and plus all the other magic moments we've had this season kind of echo, and maybe one day these shows on YouTube are seen by the next Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like, and they're just like, our show
cool.
inspires them to make their dreams.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I'd love to watch these back with our kids, like one day, you know, and show them, and, you know, to be inspired by you, and as well as the artists and creatives that we interviewed this season.
I think there was only like a handful of people whose stories like I had pre-known, you know, like prior going into it. And like a lot of them were people I know, but like I never knew their whole history. And like, you can't really understand an artist until you understand what made them be an artist.
Yeah.
I'm seeing the music industry change, and I've said it many times on the show, is that like bands who are older and artists that are older are getting picked up now, and they're not really caring about like the 17 to 23 year olds, unless it's the pop industry, because you want to sell that to the teens,
The younger generations, yeah.
but like the genuine music industry it's picking up. Like some of the biggest bands that are getting out there now have been out there for a while, but they're blowing up with the younger crowd, and they're blowing up bigger than they ever did.
Yeah.
But I think a lot of the artists and individuals we spoke with have created their own ways to move around that, which has been really mind-blowing for me. But there were a handful of artists, like Kynan, for example. Like Kynan's backstory, I've known Kynan for years.
Yeah, he was one of the first. Yeah, that was a while ago.
And to hear his backstory, like, and it was so inspiring to like hear how far he's come. And same with Chris. There's another one, right? Like, just like, to get to know these people on outside of the shows and get to know people personally, you start to realize why they are who they are.
Yeah.
And I think that's really what matters. Like when I got to sit with Dave, Dave was always will be one of the people who like will inspire me to try and push harder, because I see what he does, and I'm like, I want to be like Dave Mai. How does he do it?
Yeah.
He is just so, in my mind, he is exactly what the perfect successful artist and father is. You know what I mean? He hits it in every aspect.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people on that list that we've interviewed that kind of have that go-getter mentality, which just makes me want to push harder. Through the show and meeting these people, we get to start building this absolutely beautiful community that we've been like since day one fighting for, which is like to encompass the younger generation and inspire them to pick up an instrument or a paintbrush. And
building an extremely inspiring army.
And I think that the region will
people.
see it.
Yeah.
Because like I don't want to like rip on the Okanagan, because it is very inclusive. It is a magical place, but I definitely feel that like we've pivoted towards focusing on like the alcohol industry, the wine and beer and the foods industry so much, because we're a tourist destinations, but like you want to have art. The art concept that I'm working towards is like putting on these things with specific venues and specific artists, and that's kind of where I'm pivoting to with the company, as well as like booking less small shows and booking more inclusive community events, because the older I get, I want our kids to be in it, our friends have kids. Like we said earlier, there's like, we're at the best point in time for human beings to do what they want.
Yes, yeah, I believe so.
And I don't think like we have to stick into that 9 to 5 box.
No,
and, like,
so I'm trying to get out of.
Right? And I mean, like that's kind of the benefit to where we are now.
Yeah.
It's just realistically trying to navigate. Like you're on this ship that's just like constantly changing. Like our culture is changing.
Yeah.
Dramatically every day.
Yeah, always.
All you got to do is kind of look at the horizon and wait for the sun to come up and just wait for the sunrise. Because like realistically, no matter how much chaos there is, there will always be light at the end. It's definitely been an awe-inspiring year. Like, I could talk for hours on the amount of lessons that I learned this year, but to do it in a finale episode is very difficult, because every single person that's not even on that list had points where I was really changed me. Like my mental state walking away from the interview, hopping in the car and driving away, I was just like, man.
Almost like therapy.
It is. It is very therapeutic.
Even if that's not even the goal of the interview, which is not, you know, it's just, it really is.
To get out and like kind of be forced to get out and interview new people that I may have never met. I'm a very deep thought person, and I like to have deep conversations. So like to sit down for an hour minimum with somebody is like perfect, because I can just like, we can hit so many different conversations and points, and it doesn't get dull with creatives because they intrigue me. I like to see how other people's brains work and think. I gravitate towards, but seeing other people on their creative process has been like mind-blowing. Hearing other people's opinions on what they write about, because everyone's got a different story. Like the things that Laura Lee writes about are different than what Rob write about or what Zach write about, and because it's based on like a personal journey. And I think that that's really what creates the beauty and the magic behind art. Is you may not have to like everybody's artwork. You find these unique artists that you absolutely love and you cherish, whether it's a musician. Like everyone's got their favorite artist of like who resonates with them. And to be that for somebody is probably one of like the coolest feelings ever. Like getting to see Jonathan at the Salmon Arm show. Yeah, he's been a huge fan of mine forever, and like he came to every show, and then to like 11 years later he still comes to my shows and he finds it, and it's just like he's not a fan at that point. He's like family to me. Totally. And it's like you can't replace those connections for anything. Yeah, after that many years, right? It's insane. Still had the biggest smile on his face. He was like in high school or middle school when he first met me, and it was like he's throwback. Thanks to like Abstract Sonnets, who used to host these tiny little shows before he blew up, and now he's one of the top DJs out of BC. Yeah. And it's like, that's what I mean, getting to see where my friends progress and like how far they've come is like the biggest happiness for me. Yeah. And I think that that's like getting to meet other people, and then now in 2 years when we see them again, it's like how far have they come? Yeah. Right? And like there's a lot of people I've already got lined up for next year that are absolutely incredible, and I can't wait to do those interviews because I think the quality of interviews and the messages that are going to be coming next year as well we'll walk into it thinking it's one thing, and it's going to come out being something completely different. Yeah. And that's the beauty of it. You never know, right? I'm excited to learn those lessons. You think we can learn a little bit more going forward? Right? No, I'm just kidding. We can. Lots of room for that. Right. Of all the creative disciplines that we interviewed this year, which one was your favorite? The sand sculptor. Yeah, Delaney. Delaney's we haven't even mentioned Delaney. Yeah, no, I did. Delane was. He was a fun one because he was. Yes, yeah. His story is kind of inspiring, but like, never thought I'd get to sit down with somebody who sculpts sand. Yeah. Or snow and ice and that's cool. As a profession. As a profession too, right? So it's cool. Like you never know who you're gonna meet, and I'm excited for next year. Yep. It's definitely. I wish I had words that could describe how much fun this season has been to speak with everyone. Because the messages, the moments, and the lessons that were learned, I don't think were like, there's no price that I could put on those. Especially like the ones that really hit me hard and made me kind of like take a step back in my own life and look at it and be like, hey, how can I implement that into my daily routine? Because there's a lot of really inspiring people we got to speak with. Yeah, I think that everyone who you reached out to or they reached out to us, I feel like it was like meant to be, right? I think we were like meant to like come across these people and have these conversations, which is, you can't take that for granted. Yeah, at all. The universe. Yeah, it is. It's the universe dropping it in front of you, right? And it works that way. I believe that wholeheartedly, that it does work like that. So. And it's great that you can look back on them too. Like I wish we could do this with all the conversations we had with people on a day-to-day basis, where you can like look back on it and reflect, because it is kind of cool that like the live aspect is intimidating for a lot of people, but I find that at the end of it, once we like, oh, here's your interview, they're like, wait, I can watch it back right now, and you're like, yeah, it's like that's the best part, because like a lot of people are really intimidated on camera, especially like being on the spot, but camera's not there. Camera's not there. Well, it's why you haven't seen me. It's like having a third person. Like I like to think of it as having a third person in the room, and you're just like, you're it's not kind of ignoring the dude because they're on their phone. You know what I mean? They're busy on their phone in the corner, and you're just like, okay. I don't need to worry about having a conversation with the camera. So, but yeah, I think that's been one of the funniest things this year is like people's like, oh, it's live? And that really scares a lot of people off. But I'm like, trust me, like, it's so much funnier. Like, the amount of times animals bumped the camera this year, or animals came into to interviews, it's like, yeah, you can't beat that.
No,
or
there's
like,
always room for fuzzy friends.
Yeah, always. Yeah, it's like, I'm trying to think of Mike's dog, Herbie, when he knocked the camera because Christine was so excited doing her hula hoops. And Herbie was getting all excited because Mom was getting excited, and it's just funny moments like that are like, yeah, it's live. You can't beat it.
No.
And it's been an unexpected, I don't want to sound like a total Hobbit geek, but it's been an unexpected journey of like magic and growth the entire season. And I think that a lot of our interviewees can agree with. Even the magic moments they walked away with, and hearing them like comment back or like message us and be like, thanks, I got a lot out of that. Or
I hope that this is not the end. I hope that we can like still continue these friendships with, if not everyone, most of them. I think, I hope that happens. I hope we can still become friends.
Yeah, I definitely can't wait for next year.
Yeah, same. Yeah. Thank you. Great season.
Thank you guys for everything. Make sure to check out all the interviews if you haven't. And we'll see you next season.
Bye.